Continuing with the Configurator training introductions, we're going to go through the control panel configurator available to everyone. And with us for this is Brian Kutch, application engineer in Pittsburgh, and I've worked with Brian for years. And with that, Brian, tell us about yourself and tell us about the control panel configurator.
Thanks, Derek. Yeah, my name's Brian Kutch. I work at the Pittsburgh office as an application engineer. I'm in the IH&S group. I've been with Chromalox for, I think, about seven years at this point. Been in the IH&S group for probably 5+ at this point. So worked on a number of projects with D.Eric, and here to help kind of give you an introduction if you've never used it before, or a refresher to those who have used it before but maybe haven't used it in a while, to the control panels configurator. So with that, let's go ahead and get started.
Great.
So the control panels configurator is this one right here. Once it comes up, it's pretty straightforward. It will follow the catalog description. So if you have your catalog handy and need to reference something real quick, that's always something you can use as well. But basically, after your initials, you go ahead and you'll just go to the panel series, and you'll see all of our different options here. So your SCR control panels here. Scroll down, get to the 44 series, and that's where your contactor panels will start. If you get all the way to the bottom, that's where the freeze protection panels are located as well. So I'll go ahead and just do a 4268, one of our popular small SCR control panels. Just to give you an idea, so come over here, you have two options for your amperage rating, 30 amps and 65 amps. Choose that based on whatever your load may be. Next, you come to your supply voltages. We got the 208, 240, 480 volt, and then the 575 or 600 volt options for you. Picking any of those gets you the next letter in the code. Then you come down, and here's your process controller options. So the 0 would be if your customer is going to be supplying the process signal. So maybe they have the thermocouple downstream of whatever you are heating, or just have a sensor in their system. But they will be receiving that signal in theirs, doing the computing on their end, and then supplying the signal to us. So this is just putting some terminal blocks in there to basically accept that signal. Other than that,
straight to the SCR, though, right? That would be straight to the SCR, that would be straight to the SCR and no controller, basically.
Right, correct. That would be what we call a demand signal at that point, whereas you can have a remote set point, which you can see on some of these options down here in the 4040 and the 4081. But this would be, yes, a straight demand signal straight to the SCR, so they would be doing what you could say all of the driving. They're doing all the control on their end, and if there's a set point adjustment, they are doing it on their end, and basically this panel with the SCR is going to be reacting to that demand signal being received. In other situations where we're doing the local control, that's where you're going to be picking one of our controller options, the 6040 being your 16-pin controllers, coupled with the second option here offering you some more communication. Then you have our 4040, just a base model, and then again an option with some communications and a remote set point if your customer would like to be able to adjust the set point from their control center, but still want us to do all of the local control. That's where this option would come in handy. And the 4081 would then be your most sophisticated controller you could get in this control panel, would offer a bit more functionality. May not always be necessary for these smaller control panels, but if a customer would like a couple of different options, this would be where you would be looking for the 4081. So next option is the over temperature controller. Now you don't have to include one, which is why we have the 0 option. But other than that, you have the similar to the process controller, options to our over temperature controller. So the 16th in, the 6050, again, the base model, and then with a little bit of the recommunication options, and then the 4050, the quartered in option with the same type of communication options as well. Then you get down, here's your options field. So for the 4268, we do have a few options. We have the ground fault monitor, so GFI, your main disconnect with a through door operator, and a enclosure heater. You can get any of these as a single option, or we do have combinations that you can select as well. And if you need all three, there's also that option here as well. And then the last option for the 4268 would be your load fusing. Not a requirement, but I would say 95% of the time you are going to be including the load fusing. So this is where you just need to do a little bit of calculations. If you figure out how many amps you are pulling per circuit, once you have that figured out, you go ahead and select that option. You'll see that the fuses themselves are oversized from the amperage per circuit. That is intentional. It is supposed to be a larger fuse than the actual amp per circuit rating. So don't be alarmed if you notice that we're looking at 24 amps per circuit but using a 30 amp fuse.
Yeah, and something with the fuse to point out what you're just talking about there, Brian. So they're rated at 125% of the load value, which is an NEC requirement. That's why they have the two numbers there. So your amp load's one number, but the actual fuse is a larger number. And whether we provide the line fusing or load fusing or not, likely on site they will require it anyway.
Correct.
That's why it's a good option to have.
Right. As I say, it's not a required option. Like I said, I would say the majority of the time you will be selecting load fusing. It's not a very expensive adder. Fuses themselves aren't very expensive, and then offers also gives us an opportunity for spare parts if the customer were to need them in the future. They could always come to us for those as well. And then to just complete the configuration, all you do is then pick your number of circuits. You'll see your configuration is valid. You'll be able to look up the part number. If it hasn't been configured before, you will have the option to assign a new part number. If a part number would have already existed, it would have populated up here in the configured part field. So now we can go ahead and I'll click the assign new part number.
Running a little slow. So with the part number, there you go, yeah. So the part number is generated, but remember it's pulling in all the part numbers, though, from behind the scenes, how to actually build the panel. It does take a little while.
Yeah, it's getting the part number loaded in the JDE, so it would be you would be able to see it on the extranet for quoting and ordering purposes at that point. If you needed the bit of description of it, you could come in here. You see you get your part number, your lead time, list price, and then just a breakdown of basically the options that you have selected.
And you can cut and paste that into a quote from that screen there alone, the output text.
That's correct, yeah. Say highlight what you need, the entire thing, or maybe you just want a couple of the details in here. Maybe just the detailed description is all you need. Yes, you should be able to copy and paste directly from here.
So
I guess
creating I was going to say creating a part
ahead.
number is one thing, but you can, at that same point, you can look up a part number just as easy and find out the details. So if you want to know what the load fusing is or any of maybe some of the internal details, besides the product description or the panel description, you can look it up there by the part number too.
Correct. You could come over here, and if you found the part number on the extranet, it means it has been through this configurator or purchased previously. So you should be able to take it to here. I don't have one prepared for you, but you could look up a 4268, or maybe you're looking up for contactor panels and you're looking at like a 4468. You could type that in here, give it down at the bottom. You'll be able to look up part number. If the part number exists, it'll populate all of the fields just as we just did previously. If it does not find it, doesn't mean that it isn't in here, but that's when you maybe need to pull up you'll have to go to the catalog to get the information, or go back to the catalog product data and rebuild the same part number again, and you can get the same details.
This configurator specifically is essentially our control panel portion of our catalog all condensed into one page interface, really. Yeah.
And like I said, you have the SCR control panels, and just to give you a quick look at the 4468, since that's another popular, or the let's go 4466. with the NEMA 4 option, but another popular control panel. This one, a small contactor panel. Similar to the 4468, you have your different contactor ratings, 40, 75, 100 amps. Supply voltages, you're the same, but you'll notice that these are grouped a little bit differently. So it is important that you confirm this up front because the transformer will be a little bit different when you have options 2 and 1 selected compared to option 0. So take a little bit of note of that, but otherwise, again, same as the SDR 4268 option in there. Same options again for your process controllers, either having a customer supplied signal, which will be different in this case from your SCR because SCR control allows for ramping and a deramping essentially. Contactor control is just going to be an on-off signal. So we're either, if we're receiving a customer supplied signal, it's going to be going straight to the contactor and basically telling it to turn on or turn off. Contactor control a lot more basic and simple than SCR control. But same, you have your 60/40 and 40/40 options with your communications available on both models and the remote set point on the 40/40 here. Similar over temp options, you have the 60/50s and the 40/50s again. And this one, a couple of less options for you, just the main disconnect switch and enclosure heater were both options for you on the 4466. And then similarly, the load fusing, like we touched on previously. Choose your amps per circuit, gives you your fuses and just a number of fuse circuits. Here's an example where you're a little bit higher, so there are some protections in here to help you from exceeding the ratings. And so if you notice that you're not able to add load fusing here, maybe you need to look at a different panel series, contactor series, or if there's a possibility to add more circuits and reduce the amperage per circuit, that could be an option for you as well. But again, similarly, once that's done, you can look up the part number. This one has already been configured before, so you see that it automatically populated the configured part field and provided you the same output text that the 4268 did. Nice. And similarly, copy and paste from here, put it in your quote and can send it to your customer.
So if you're configuring a heater, it's just as easy to skip over to this and get your panel at the same time. Yeah.
If you get a quick flange heater together, if you need a small contactor panel, this is a very quick way to just get you your part number and a list price and lead time all in one spot.
Well, excellent, Brian. That's good. Good overview of the control panel configurator. Anything else you'd recommend or suggest about this?
Not really. This one is pretty straightforward. Again, it follows the catalog and the price books. So if you have want to review in the price book and start building a part number, and maybe you just want to check if what you're looking in the price book checks out correctly and the ratings are all correct, this is a good way to just come in and just confirm that you are configuring an appropriately designed control panel. So again, it'll reaffirm that you have the correct design, and it will give you the same list price as well. So as I say, you can use it as a tool to just kind of check yourself as well.
Well, it'd be good practice, like your first demonstration of if the part number didn't exist, you should go ahead and create one. So when the time comes to order it, all the data and stuff's already in there.
Correct. Yes, for ordering purposes, if you have it configured in here, it means that it's being creating an item master in our JDE system, and then after 24 hours, it'll be available on the extranet. So if you needed to add it to another quote, or if you do secure the order, when you go to enter the order, the part information will already be available. So should make that portion of it a little bit easier as well.
Awesome. Well, great. That's pretty much the questions I had, Brian. I appreciate that. I'm going to go ahead and